Hello everyone. Good morning. My name is Benita Fitzgerald Mosley. I am I'm a board member of the U.S. Olympic Museum. I'm currently the CEO of Lauria's Sport for Good Foundation. I'm an 1984 Olympic gold medalist and a former proud resident of the beautiful city of Colorado Springs. On behalf of Board of Directors and our chairman, Dick Celeste, good morning and welcome to the groundbreaking of the U.S. Olympic Museum. We are honored to have so many distinguished guests with us today and several of my Olympic and Paralympic athletes in attendance this morning for this momentous occasion. I've had the pleasure of serving on the U.S. Olympic Museum board for several years, first in my role as a senior executive with the USOC, and now as an at-large member. And throughout this time, and through all of the trials and triumphs that we've experienced over that time, and really led us to this awesome moment, two words have consistently come to my mind, and they are world-class. The endeavor of bringing this museum to life has required the vision, the hard work, and talents of world-class leaders. We've partnered with world-class designers and architects to build an iconic world-class building. This building will sit in the shadow of Pikes Peak in the world-class city of Colorado Springs. And the museum will honor the world-class achievements of our U.S. Olympic and Paralympic athletes. Olympic and Paralympic athletes often toil away for years in virtual obscurity with the hopes of someday representing their country on the world stage. Each of the 9,024 Olympians and 1,500 Paralympians that have had the honor of representing our country have had their own unique stories, their own unique journey, and now our collective journey will finally be told in magnificent fashion. And I'm awestruck at the thought of having a place to call our own here in Olympic City, USA. I would like to invite all the Olympic and Paralympic athletes to indicate themselves either by standing or waving at this moment, please. All of you are the real reason this U.S. Olympic Museum will and does exist, is coming out of the ground today. And the museum will fuel the dreams and aspirations of millions of young children who are thinking about flipping and jumping and running and rolling and kicking and riding and throwing and swimming their way to Olympic glory. Now it's my pleasure to introduce a world-class leader in his own right, Ambassador Dick Celeste, Chairman of the U.S. Olympic Museum Board of Directors. And I believe I speak for my fellow athletes when I say thank you for all of your hard work and bringing your vision to life for this museum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benita. Several people asked me about my hard hat. It says ambassador, and according to protocol, there are other titles that might take precedence. But this was given to me for a construction project 30 years ago in New Delhi. And so I figured it was only appropriate to recycle here. And it's been not quite 30 years since we had the idea of this museum, although Bill Tutt here would say it started maybe 30 years ago. To all who've been involved for the last 5 years since my first conversation with then Mayor Steve Bach, I am delighted that we have arrived at this day. I'm pleased to be joined on the podium by three very distinguished folks who I will introduce to speak in a moment, but I want to acknowledge the Governor, John Hickenlooper, the Mayor, John Suthers, and Scott Blackman, who's President and CEO, I'm not sure, CEO of the U.S. Olympic Committee. Each of them have been very instrumental in what we've done, and we thought we would have a very small crowd. We're going to try to keep our ceremony short because it's hot, and we also need to be sure that they're getting to work, and you'll notice the work has stopped behind us, at least for the moment. I want to acknowledge the many elected officials here, city council members, county commissioners, state legislators, and others who've been supportive. But all of our elected officials who've supported this, please stand and be acknowledged, and we can say thank you to you. It was not always easy in this journey, but many of you have helped in innumerable ways, and we are deeply grateful for that. Benita mentioned that this is intended to be a world-class venue, an attraction that will bring people not only from around the state and around the nation, but from around the world to visit. And I want to introduce our world-class design and build team and ask these members to stand. First, our design architects from New York, Diller, Scofidio, and Renfro. Ben Gilmartin is the partner, and these are all folks working on it. Thank you very much. We have from Denver, working with them in tandem, AMD, Anderson Mason Dale, and Andy Nielsen, and John Graham, and many others are here. Can the AMD team stand for us? They will be very familiar to the building department and folks at City Hall to make sure everything gets done properly, Mayor. Our design, we were inspired by a team of consultants who did the feasibility study. Barry Projects, Dennis and Kathy Barry are actually in Lausanne as we speak, visiting the museum there and talking about how we partner. Mike Devine has been working as part of that consulting group. Mike, would you stand to represent the Barry team? Our exhibit designers are world-class. If any of you have visited the Spy Museum in Washington or the World War II Museum in New Orleans or many other places, you'd know the work of Gallagher and Associates. Where is Sybil Jones? Sybil, please stand. And finally, this building is already underway under the sure, skilled, determined, dedicated hand of G.E. Johnson. Jim Johnson, will you and your team, many of whom are around here, please wave or something so we can acknowledge thanks to all of you. I need to say this. 5 years is a long time. I have 7 children, and altogether, those pregnancies did not add up to 5 years. So there's a lot involved. The board of the Olympic Museum has been fabulous. Every single member has, in one way or another, contributed in important ways to the success of this endeavor. And I'd like the board of the U.S. Olympic Museum to please stand so that I can say thank you to you and we can all say thank you. Come on, Andy and BJ and thank you very much. Thank you. We wouldn't be here today if it weren't for a number of generous donors who believed in the vision of the museum, cared deeply enough to dig deep into their pockets. And I want to acknowledge our donors in several ways. First, there were foundation donors who were critical at early stages. The El Pomar Foundation, Bill Hibble and the foundation trustees right here were there from day one. The John and Margot Lane Foundation and Phil Lane were very important, very early. The Mary Kay Chapman Foundation and its trustees were early believers and strong supporters. The Anschutz Foundation, I'm sorry that we couldn't have folks from the Anschutz Foundation here today, but they have been strong supporters. And finally, the Lyda Hill Foundation. Those 5 foundations were in early and strong and really kept us going. In addition, we've had very important corporate donors. Norwood, I want to pick out Norwood. Dave Jenkins is here. Dave, would you please stand? You and the family and others are very generous. We wouldn't be at this site, which was this site was the number one recommendation of the feasibility study, and we're delighted that we could make this work. The Ent Federal Credit Union, Classic Homes, Colorado Structures, Dean Widener, these were all key corporate donors. And then there are others, many others here, who are donors as well. So I just want everyone who donated to the museum, stand for a minute and applaud yourselves. Come on. Murphy, Guadagnoli, let's go. Everybody who's given. Come on. That's everybody. Do not be modest. Do not be modest. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it is phenomenal. When people come up and say, Dick, that you've done something, I have done very little. We have done a lot. You know, the Olympic Creed says, the most important thing in the Olympic Games is not to win, but to take part. Just as the most important thing in life is not the triumph, but the struggle. The essential thing is not to have conquered, but to have fought well. We're going to celebrate the Olympic Creed. We're going to celebrate Olympic values. When we talk about swifter, higher, stronger, I think you will see that in the building itself. I think you will experience an exhibit after exhibit as we go through the museum. Our goal is to tell the stories of Olympic and Paralympic athletes in a way that is compelling for everyone who visits and is inspiring for everyone who visits. So whether it's in their lives in aspiring as an athlete or in so many other ways, they choose to follow the Olympic dream. And they learn from the stories of someone who sat on a floor in wherever it was that you started thinking about hurdles, Benita, or wherever it was. I think it was North Carolina where Joey Cheek was thinking about speed skating, wherever it was, any story. In Cleveland, when D'Artagnan Crockett didn't even have a dream of being a Paralympian, and coach brought him out to the training center, and he was inspired to learn judo. He was a wrestler. These stories are stories that need to be shared and inspire and carry on. So what we have here, what we begin here, what we build here, will be an inspiration not only for this community, and not only for this state, but for our nation. And it's in my spirit that I'm grateful that we're all here. And now I'd like to ask the governor of the state of Ohio, a good friend of Colorado Springs, John, two Johns, right? Kasich, Hickenlooper, what are you going to do? There's a little difference, though, right? I mean, okay, you can take the kid out of Ohio, but you can't take Ohio out of him. I'm sorry. The great governor and good friend, or was, John Hickenlooper.
My father, who died when I was quite young, grew up and was forever attached to Cincinnati, Ohio. So he is looking down benevolently saying, oh, if only that were the truth. Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you for all your efforts on this. What an amazing journey this is. And you talk about how many of the Olympians have these unlikely journeys. I think many people here, and I would include myself, people that have taken inspiration, and we try to do something. When I got laid off and tried to open a brew pub in Denver first and then down here in Colorado Springs, and pretty much everybody said it was impossible, you're not going to be able to do it. That creed of the Olympics, that no matter how difficult it seems, you're going to try. You're going to give it 100% and do your best. I think this whole museum effort reflects that as well. Having people like Scott Blackman in the community is another benefit from the Olympics. He is so involved and so thoughtful beyond just his role of running the Olympics, but really in the community. It's a great gift. And I've said enough about Mayor Suthers. You have one of the great mayors, not just in Colorado, but I think in the country right now. Someone who really balances strong values, with a pragmatic approach to how do we get stuff done. And we, as he's fond of saying, we often don't agree on a number of issues. But I think in the end, we probably agree on more than 90% of things, and in most cases are on the same side of trying to say, all right, this is the direction, let's go. There's a word that I've been using a lot the last few months called topophilia, love of place. And I think Colorado Springs has a case of topophilia more than just about any other place in Colorado. And let me say, Colorado is filled with people that love where they live. That spirit is what allows big adventures like this to take place. Coloradans also love sport and always have, and the fact that we have such a strong Olympic heritage here in the Springs, but that is also embraced around the state. An awful lot of the people, I think, that come to this museum are not necessarily just going to be from out of state. They're going to be from Denver and Fort Collins and from Grand Junction and from Salida and Sterling. I mean, they'll be from all parts of the country, or all parts of the state, coming here. The fact that we have 10,000 Olympians and Paralympians who train each year at the Olympic Center is a powerful, powerful message. Proud home to the headquarters since 1978. Almost is it 2 dozen? No, it's almost 2 dozen governing bodies for the various sports. Not to mention we have 80 or a little over 80 Olympians that call the Colorado Springs their home, proudly call it their home, and over 260 Olympians live somewhere in Colorado. I forget about per capita statistics. I'm sure that dwarfs anywhere except maybe California. Anyway, we are proud of our athletes and proud to have such a great run of them. We signed a couple bills this session. One was to make sure we gave in-state tuition to Olympic athletes. Another was, yeah, that was a big deal. And the other one was exempting state income tax liability for those that would get it as a result of winning a medal, which for me was the easiest bill we've ever had. The state joins with Colorado Springs in being committed to make sure that athletes get not only the best training environment possible, but also that we get the benefit of that tourism for the Pikes Peak region. And having right now just 130,000 people that tour annually the training center, that is just going to blossom dramatically. And I think the synergy between this museum and the training center is going to be profound. The museum is going to build on the and really capitalize on the region's strengths that have been developed for so many years. It's going to help spur development downtown. And this is the one thing I know more about even than Mayor Suthers, but how do you take forgotten parts of downtowns and get them going and breathe life into them? And this is going to play a huge role. We agree on this 100%, but I have more experience in this one thing. Anyway, it took a partnership to get this done. I have a long proclamation, which I'm not going to read. I want applause for that. A lot of people worked hard on this proclamation. It'll be framed. We'll make sure it's in the newspaper, but you don't need to hear it in the hot sun. I'll read you the last whereas. Whereas the U.S. Olympic Museum will be the place to honor the journey of American athletes and to showcase the universal values of excellence, friendship, and respect through the philosophy of the Olympic Games. Therefore, I, John W. Hickenlooper, Governor of the entire state of Colorado, do hereby proclaim forever after today, June 9th, as U.S. Olympic Museum Hall of Fame Day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, distinguished Governor of Colorado, John Hickenlooper. We appreciate it. And now I'd like to ask the mayor of Colorado Springs, who's been a supporter from the day, before he took office and certainly in office, John Suthers, if you'd come forward and say a few words.
Governor Hickenlooper, the governor of the entire state of Colorado. Governor Celeste, who still can't get over the fact he was governor of Ohio. Mr. Blackman, Ms. Mosley, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. This is an historic and transformational day for the city of Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak region, because today we break ground on the nation's one and only Olympic Museum and Hall of Fame, and we continue to construct the foundation for our future as Olympic City, USA. As home of the United States Olympic Committee, the Olympic Training Center, the many Olympic sports governing bodies, we have been a city where Olympic dreams are born and nurtured. Henceforth, we will be the city where Olympic excellence is enshrined for the ages. A place where Americans will come to learn about and be inspired by the efforts and accomplishments of great athletes, and be inspired to embrace the Olympic values of excellence, friendship, and respect. What we say here today will soon be forgotten, but what we build here will be long remembered and impactful on many generations. Through dynamic exhibits, visitors will experience the drama and exhilaration of the Olympic and Paralympic Games and witness the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. This day of celebration has been in the making for many years and been made possible by the efforts of many people. And I want to express the gratitude of our entire community to those who have contributed their money, to those who have contributed their talent, their energies, their ideas, and their passion. You have all helped to make this dream a reality, helped continue to build a shining city at the foot of a great mountain, and helped ensure that Colorado Springs will long be known as Olympic City, USA. I am honored to join you today, and I hope to see all of you again when we meet to dedicate this iconic institution in a few short years. Thank you for being here and for your support of our city's Olympic dream.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mayor. Now I want to introduce a man who really is a partner in this effort. This museum would not exist without the efforts of the U.S. Olympic Committee, which is the organization that nurtures and supports our Olympians and Paralympians and makes the United States as competitive and respected around the world as it is. Scott Blackmun has devoted himself to the Olympic movement and to the Olympic Committee for a number of years, most recently in a leadership role. And Scott has been instrumental in helping us negotiate an agreement with the USOC for the museum as we look to the future, and has been helpful to me and our board on a number of important moments when we need advice, guidance, introductions, doors opened, encouragement, pulling back on the reins occasionally. When if you're around me, you need to pull back on the reins occasionally. That happens. So I'm delighted to invite Scott Blackmun to join us and say a few words. Scott.
Thank you, Dick. You know, we are lucky to have a great governor and a great mayor with us today, and a great man in Dick Celeste. I had never met Dick, and I'd never met anybody like Dick until he came to see me about 5 years ago. He is truly a force of nature, and we're incredibly lucky to have him. It's been 40 years since the United States Olympic Committee came to Colorado Springs, and in that time we've been working together to create an environment where exceptional athletes can follow their dreams in a welcoming and healthy community. The support that this community has given to the USOC, to the NGBs, to our athletes who train here, it can't be overestimated. Since we moved here, we've partnered to build the first Olympic training center in the United States, to create an attractive environment for our NGBs. Almost half of our 47 NGBs are headquartered here. We've hosted hundreds, if not thousands, of international sporting competitions, and we've established our absolutely wonderful downtown headquarters building. And today, we're going to commemorate the next iteration of our great partnership, one in which we'll honor our athletes, and in particular, the strength of their spirit, their determination, and their extraordinary accomplishments. The Olympic movement is different. It's not like other sporting events because it's values-based. Both the mayor and the governor referred to the values of friendship, excellence, and respect. That, combined with the fact that our athletes are representing their nation, is why more people watch the Olympic Games than any other property. And it's why people are going to come to Colorado Springs to be a part of it. So we're grateful at the USOC to support this great project. We're grateful to Dick and his wonderful vision. We're grateful to the city and to the state for their partnership in this project and their unwavering support. And we're grateful to the private donors who made this a reality. And we're looking forward to working with all of you to tell the stories of our remarkable athletes in a way that will make Colorado Springs and our partnership even stronger. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much, Scott. I've been asked from time to time about how we raised the money, and I want to make this point. We've raised north of $75 million, certainly if you throw in the value of this property, well over $80 million to make this project move forward. 2/3 of those dollars are private dollars, foundation dollars, corporate dollars, much of it individual dollars. 1/3 of it is public money, and it's a result of a state program for which we're very grateful. And I want to say, Governor, I should have thanked you partly as one of our donors, and the folks at the Economic Development Commission we've been working with, and to say a word to Jason Doyle and the banks in town who've turned the tax increment financing into bond dollars. We're grateful for that too. This is a team project. We're going to have teamwork on shovels, okay? I'm not going to assign who has to do the hard work of the first shovel to be done. Somebody's going to come up and grab you by groups, and we will take shovels down. You may wonder what ground we're breaking. I'm not sure. I hope it's something softer than what's right behind us, because I've watched those big things clawing at it, and they have to work hard. But as you know, that's the ceremonial part of that. So there'll be a bunch of photos being taken momentarily. But I just want to say now to all of you who are here, there is an invitation to return 2 years from now. Can we say 2 years from now, between Jim and the exhibit designers and the rest? You think 2 years? Maybe toward the end of summer. Maybe we can get a cool day in September. I don't know when it will be, but we want to return to this site, and I guarantee it will look totally different. You will not see the trains. DSR has edited them out in this design. It's called curation. We're curating the railroad out of sight. And you will see a stunning building, which is even more stunning when you think of the experiences inside, where you gain an appreciation of the devotion of our Paralympic and Olympic athletes. Not just the winners, that we'll celebrate winners and we'll honor some folks in the Hall of Fame, but everyone who competes, and in every sport. There'll be a place for everyone. And we want you to be part of that when we return 2 years from now. So thank you very much for bringing us this far. Let's turn over some dirt if we can, at least get a picture with a shovel. And then we're going to go to work. We got to roll up our sleeves. So I brought my hard hat. I'm ready to go. Thank you again. We are adjourned.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
We're just going to throw it.
2, 3.
All right.
Go ahead.
Don't do it too well, though. I want you back.